Hey guys, I just want to give a shout out to the My Steps to Sobriety community. Here we go. My name is Andrea Epteen, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, master's addictions counselor, and a certified sex therapist. And I have the Direct Impact podcast. We're operating out of Savannah, Georgia. So thanks so much for having me today. I am going to do 10 tips in 10 minutes with Andrea. Okay, so I want to start with all things planning to have success in recovery, but it does take some planning and it does take some structure. So my first tip is habits and routines, establishing healthy habits and healthy routines, making sure that you identify those outer circle behaviors that are going to be life-giving and really help you and sustain you on that road to recovery. So again, tip number one, habits and routines, yes, structure on your road to recovery is so important. Make sure, and this is the second tip, so tip number two, make sure that your habits that you set, that they're easy. You want to make sure that you set new easy habits and you hold yourself accountable by establishing and maintaining an AM routine and a PM routine. And you also want to make sure that they're easy, okay? Why do we set easy habits? It's because it increases our relationship with ourselves and it promotes, it strengthens our trust bonds and relationship to self. It promotes our ability to honestly explore self and all of those unwanted behaviors. Okay? So tip two is establish easy habits. But what does easy stand for? Good question. It stands for enjoyable, accessible, sustainable, and yours. And so that goes into tip number three. Make it enjoyable. So when you're establishing these new habits, make sure they're enjoyable. Ensure that they meet a need and produce dopamine in a life-giving way. A life-giving way, okay? So not pornography, not alcohol, not drugs, not shopping, and not gambling, but life-giving coping activities, okay? Something that generates authentically positive emotion. So make sure that they're enjoyable. That's tip number three. Tip number four, make sure that your new healthy habits are accessible. So that means that they're easy to engage with minimal barriers. Okay? Next, tip number five, make sure that your new easy habits are sustainable. Something that will serve you for the long haul and will not lead to overwhelm and burnout or reinforce old unhealthy patterns of behavior. Alright, so tip number six, make sure that your new healthy habits are yours, wholly yours, something unique to you, something that leads you to your true north and promotes integrity. Yes, integrity is so important in recovery, isn't it? Okay, authenticity and recovery, so important. Something that draws out your giftings, your talents, and your strengths, the things that are completely unique to you. Make sure that these new healthy habits are yours. Tip number seven, journal daily. Journal daily and log your progress towards your goals every single day. Okay? Come back to that AM routine. Come back to that PM routine. Come back to that journaling practice every day. Try to put streaks together, okay? And hold yourself accountable to your new established healthy habits and routines, AM routines and PM routines. The wind up, okay, or the start up and the wind down, okay? Those routines are very important on a road to recovery. Tip number 8, practice mindfulness. Identify a daily victory and a daily struggle. So when you're in your journaling practice every day, I want you to be mindful of that day's victories. Okay? And also that day's struggles. Look at what were your triggers that day. Were you hungry? Were you angry? Were you lonely? Were you tired? Were you sad? Were you stressed? Were you hurting and in pain? Take an opportunity to look at the struggles and also the victories in the ways that you overcame. So important. Okay, tip number 9, practice forecasting. Okay, so an example of that is tomorrow I want to feel, or I identify an intention for the next day, or a word of encouragement. That's so important. Okay, notes to future self. I can start to log my notes to my future self, and I imagine what that feels like. Imagine what it feels like to have that desired outcome. So you start preparing today to have a successful tomorrow. So important. Practice forecasting. All right, that's tip number 9. Tip number 10. Deliberately engage in self-care and self-compassion practices daily. Every day when you are sitting down with your recovery journal, it is important that you are actually logging how you deliberately and actively engage in the self-care practice that day, and how you also held compassion for yourself in your struggles. All right, so that's tip number 10. And I'm going to give y'all an extra tip. Tip number 11 is that you can get your own Plan to Recover journal by visiting Amazon. And you can put in Andrea Epting, last name spelled E-P-T-I-N-G, and you're going to find your own Plan to Recover 90-day mini journal. And we would love for you to have this. It is so important to be mindful and plan on your road to recovery. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.